Yahoo Fantasy Sports Usability Study. The interface that I chose to work on is the Yahoo Fantasy Football mobile application. This application is one that many others and I spent countless hours on during the real-life NFL season. It handles all the tasks needed for users to start and run a fantasy football league, as well as allowing users to manage and maintain their respective fantasy teams. The main task that a user performs while using the application is setting your weekly lineup. Every week during the fantasy football season, you play head-to-head against another user. Before the real-life NFL game of the week starts, users have to decide which NFL players they want to start, bench, or drop. The main reoccurring problem that arises with this application is the amount of screen clutter. I and many other people in the world know and can see how display clutter is a negative feature. I wanted more information and consequently found an article relating to the negative impacts of display clutter. Throughout this article, many different interfaces were tested, and the results appear to agree with my naive thoughts. Ruth Rosenholz found that as you increase display clutter, the slower your visual search time will be. Display clutter clearly has a negative effect on cognitive abilities such as visual search, reasoning, and mental workload. These abilities are crucial for operating this mobile application, so to improve the user experience, display clutter should be something that is further looked at. The goal of my experiment is to evaluate the differences in speed between new and experienced users while using the new, less cluttered interface design. My hypothesis is that new users will display a faster time for task completion with the new interface compared to the original interface, but it won't have any effect on experienced users. I will be splitting my participants into two separate groups. Group 1, the experienced group. Users must be between the ages of 18 and 60, have a minimal background knowledge of the NFL, have knowledge on how to operate a smart mobile device, and have 6 or more months using the Yahoo Fantasy Sports mobile application. Group 2, which will be non-experienced, the users must be between the ages of 18 to 60, have a minimal background knowledge of the NFL, have knowledge on how to operate a smart mobile device, and have less than 6 months experience using the Yahoo Fantasy Sports mobile application. I am currently a member of 3 separate fantasy football leagues, all being hosted on Yahoo Fantasy Sports mobile application. Each of these leagues contain 14 individuals, all with different levels of experience. These users are also in other leagues of their own, and consequently I can get them to extend the invitation to the experiment to their other leagues. My recruitment strategy involves sorting them into experienced versus non-experienced users based on the length that they have used the application. Since roughly 20% of the users would be considered not experienced, I could also set up a booth at Carleton and ask students staff as they pass by. This would add to my sample of non-experienced users to get a good sample that correctly infers the population of users. The independent variables that I have decided on were amount of screen clutter and experience with the application. The dependent variables that I'll be measuring will be task completion time and the amount of errors. I will be taking a mixed approach in that my independent variable, amount of screen clutter, will include a within subject assign, and experience with the application will be a between subject assign. This is because I want to see if being experienced as a user has an effect on how they process display clutter. I also can't change how experienced a user is without changing the user itself. The location will be in person at a neutral, quiet location such as a meeting room at Carleton University. This will allow participants to remain calm and not allow outside effects to interfere. The experiment will be conducted by allowing members of the first group one by one into an experiment setting. The first user will be explained their desired task to complete verbally and then asked to complete the task as they normally would on the original interface. Next, they will be given the new interface and will be asked to complete the same task but with different variables. This change in variable will effectively create a new task with the exact same steps, but the user will be searching for a different player, so recent history should not affect it. After all the experienced users have completed the experiment, the same steps will be repeated with the non-experienced users. The variables will be recorded, and a screen recording software will also be installed on the device to allow further post-examination.